Jaco Pastorius, The Chicken, featuring Soul Intro. And I'm sure most bass players are somewhat familiar with Jaco Pastorius and maybe even with this tune. But did you know that this was not one of Jaco's songs? It was actually written by a man named Alfred Pee Wee Ellis, who was a member of James Brown's band. And the James Brown band actually cut a version of this tune, The Chicken, back in the late 60s. We're going to take a look at that version as well today, but we'll start out with Jaco's big band arrangement. And so on, right? Great performance on the bass, of course, by Jaco. And it's funny, all the different versions, old live versions I've heard of his band playing this tune, he'd never play the bass line the exact same way twice. He'd always start with the famous motif of, which we'll see that was part of the original arrangement by the James Brown band. But he would always then just go ahead and throw in his signature licks, variations, that muted 16th note funk thing that he had. And it's all right in the pocket. It's really something to behold. So while we have that in our ear, here's the James Brown version. Right, so the horn arrangement is very similar, right? But the groove itself is a little bit slower, right? And the bass line is much more simplified, right? And it's great that we have two versions of this tune to appreciate, right? They have their similarities, they have their differences. It's all great. What I'd like to do now is take a look at Soul Intro and the harmonies behind that. All right, so let's see what we got here. We're in 6/4 time. We're starting out in the key of B flat major, right? So we've got an F, B flat, D. It's a second inversion B flat chord. Now, the next chord is a D7, even though there's no D in it. And I'll explain that in a second. But the voicing is A, C, F sharp. The next chord is an E flat chord in second inversion. B flat, E flat, G. Okay, now why do I call this? It could have been part of an A diminished chord, right? Could have been part of an F sharp diminished chord. Well, yes, but there's this thing harmonically that if you're in a key, you can use the 3 chord and make it a dominant 7 to go up a half step to the 4 chord. That's a fairly common move, and that's what's happening here. Now hold on to that because you're going to see it again in another key in a second. But anyway, let's start again. B flat, D7, E flat, B flat, C7, C, E, B flat. That's the 2 chord, dominant 7 in B flat, right? Well, you remember a second ago I was talking about the 3 chord, a half step underneath the 4, dominant 7. Well, watch what we do here. We're going to move from B flat major up a minor third to D flat major. How do we get there? Via a dominant 7th chord, a half step lower than the root, which is C7 to D flat. And now that D flat, it's the same type of voicing. We're in second inversion, just like the B flat chord was. A flat, D flat, F. Again, this is going to be an F7 chord, even though there's no F in it. So you have the notes C, E flat, A. And what that's doing now is that F7 chord, which is the 3 chord, again, now in the key of D flat, is actually going to function 2 ways. Remember I said to the 4 chord? It is going to go to the 4 chord, but first we're making a pit stop at B flat minor and then G flat. Okay, F7 is the 5 chord of B flat minor, correct? So it's functioning that way. But now there's the 4 chord, the G flat, right? Let's take it from the D flat. F7, B flat minor, which is in first inversion, by the way. D flat, F, B flat. G flat, just move 1 note, the F to a G flat. And now we have an E flat triad over an F in the bass. So that's a slash chord. It functions as kind of like an F suspended chord, but that's how you would write it, E flat slash F, right? And then we have this cool scale walk down. And now we're back to the original key of B flat. We got there with E flat being the 4 chord, E flat, G, B flat. Keep that B flat on top, move the other 2 notes down to D and F. So now you've got B flat in first inversion. Keep the B flat on top, move the other 2 notes down to C and E flat. Now you've got a C minor 7 chord. Keep the B flat on top, move the other 2 notes down to B flat and D. You've arrived home. You do that with the low notes as well. Then we go to the 4 chord, E flat. 1 chord, B flat. Well, I hope you enjoyed that breakdown. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel, and there'll be more videos like this to come. Thanks for watching.